I got my Leaving Cert results yesterday. I got enough points, I think. I hope so. I went into the school with the girls to get our envelopes. I was such a nervous wreck. I felt physically sick. We didn't open them in the school. We didn't want anyone poking in and asking us what we got. That happened to one of the girls when we got our junior cert results, and we swore we wouldn't let that happen again. So we just got our envelopes and left. We went into Starbucks in town, where we ordered ourselves large fraps with extra cream. We needed it. So we sat down and opened up our envelopes, and there was a pause. Nobody was crying, so that was good, I thought. As for me, I passed everything. I even got an A1 in biology. I was delighted. Then there was another few seconds where we took out our phones to calculate our points. And then there was mixtures of sighs of relief and exclamations of excitement. I just couldn't believe that I got the points that I wanted. I just didn't say anything. The girls got worried because I was quiet, and they asked if I was all right, but I told them I was happy. Then the girl behind the counter gave us free muffins, so we were delighted. With results off our mind, we then started talking about the big night out that night. I, of course, had nothing to wear and was shopping last minute again. It wasn't my fault though. I ordered something off Boohoo weeks ago and it didn't arrive on time. The girls just laughed at me, and they're used to this by now. So we went to 5 different shops before I found something that I liked. On the walk home, I went past the university hospital, which I usually do, and I just stopped and took it all in. In a few short years, I'm going to be in there, I thought. I've always wanted to be a nurse. My aunt was also a nurse, and I shadowed her when I was in TY. And just the drive and dedication of the other nurses just really stayed with me. I picked nursing in UCD, and I'll find out on Monday if I got it. I hope I do. No, I don't want to sit down. It was another manic sight in the ward today, as you can imagine. I've almost grown immune to the sound of how many patients shouting "nurse, nurse" numerous times throughout the day. When I started off, I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. Healthcare crisis? I didn't believe it until I was there. On my second day, I was on the late shift in the A&E department. I thought it was an exaggeration what they said in the news, but it wasn't. I was there 2 seconds when how many patients came up to me and started asking me questions I didn't know the answer to. I then saw this woman on a trolley. She was surrounded by what looked like her husband and her 2 daughters. She looked severely dehydrated. I went over to help her when one of the senior members of staff shouted, "She's fine, you're needed in Ward 5. I then went down to what I can only describe as commotion. There was a young man who was holding a no more than 1-year-old. He was only in a nappy and he was screaming and crying in agony. He then threw up pink vomit, and then his eyes started to roll at the back of his head. I was called upon immediately, and we carried out the emergency procedures until the symptoms subsided, and then we transferred him to recovery for monitoring throughout the night. It was a relief to relieve the poor pet. I then walked down the corridor, and I saw that the woman on the trolley was gone. She must have got seen to, I thought. Later I found out she died from kidney failure. I was in the bathroom just washing the sick off myself and my tunic destroyed, and I couldn't help but think of that poor woman that I couldn't save. This was not why I became a nurse. This tunic, it's a constraint on my morals and ideals. It's a straitjacket on myself. I handed in my notice today. I was getting sick and burnt out in the space of a few months. It was the hardest thing that I had to do, but I just couldn't do it anymore. My doctor actually put it straight to me. They said that it was the job and not my lack of supplements or poor diet that I usually blamed it on. They actually told me to quit before something bad happens. I remember I was in the car with Mum after, just telling her this and how ridiculous of an idea it was. I studied it for 4 years, so what would have that been for? She then just says to me, quit. You need to get out of nursing, Amber. You're not yourself anymore. Go get a job in a small doctor's office. Go do another course. Get a job in Aldi. Anything else but that now. I love you, Amber. And I just want you to be happy. Will you just please think about it? I just said that I would, and then that was it. I was back in the hospital a week later. It was manic. Nothing new there. I was attending to one of my patients, John. He was a cancer patient, age 65. He only had his daughter left, who lived an hour and a half away. So I kept him company whenever I could. Just a few minutes with John. No matter how bad of a day you're having, it always put a smile back on your face. He was always so funny and kind and wise. My beeper went off then, and I was needed down a casualty. There was a 28-year-old woman severely injured from a car collision. We almost lost her a few times, but then we got her injury seen to and stabilised her, and then she was transferred to recovery. I then spoke to her partner and her mother and told them that she'd be okay. I went back to John's room then, and I saw his daughter and a priest by his bed. His daughter was holding his hand and crying. And then John just looks at me, smiles and whispers, "Thank you." He passed peacefully moments later, and his daughter was just devastated. I had my arm around her and just told her how sorry I was over and over again. I made her a cup of tea and I stayed with her until her taxi came. She told me how John spoke fondly of me and thanked me for everything. After work, I went to the car out to Mum. She knew that something was wrong, but I didn't say anything. I just broke down. Mum just got out of the car and opened my car door and just cradled me. I was finished. I was done. I couldn't save everyone and it killed me.